Good afternoon. I am Casey Potts, the chair of the Dover-Sherborn Athletic Hall of Fame Committee. And on behalf of the committee, I welcome you all to the second Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Though this is a night that looks back in the past, I would like us to begin, for what I hope are obvious reasons, by acknowledging some exemplary performances by Dover-Sherborn athletes this year. Please welcome committee member and current Dover-Sherborn High School math teacher and swim coach, Carly Echols, to do the introductions.
Welcome, everyone. As Casey just mentioned, I'm going to introduce our current state champions. So would the current state champions who are here tonight please come forward? Selfishly, as a swim coach, I'm going to introduce my state champion first, who sadly could not be here because she's out competing. Freshman Ava Yablonsky is a two-time state champion in the 100-yard butterfly and the 100-yard backstroke, both times which broke her own school records. She was the only Division II swimmer to win both of her individual events. And her backstroke time was fast enough to qualify for All-American consideration. Next up is the boys' indoor track 4x800 relay. The team of Oliver Freed, Danny Bennett, Noah Guarini, and Oren Niemeyer won the Division V title for the first time in DS history. They crushed their season best by almost 3 seconds, running an 8:30.93. Congratulations, boys. And Oliver was not done as he went onto the mile for the Division V state title. Not only is it impressive to win a state title, but Oliver showed his true grit. You see, he battled an injury all year, qualified for states at the TVL League meet, then went on to win the state meet in indoor track school record time of 4:26.10. Congratulations, Oliver. And last but not least, for the first time since the inducted 1981 basketball team, 1 year after that 81 basketball team was inducted to the Hall of Fame, the boys basketball team, led by Coach Rick Grady, who's sitting in the back over there, won the 2019 Division III boys state title. The 6th-seeded Raiders swept through 6 games, knocking off 2 top-seeded teams on their way to the title. Congratulations to the boys basketball team and all our state champions.
And what they can see tonight is what they have done will be remembered. Now, actually a couple of things, just to make sure people understand. We have drinks available here, The men's room is out that door. The ladies' room is out that exit door. And if you have any questions, just ask someone nearby. Chances are they will know. Okay? All right, some words of thanks. First of all, to the Hall of Fame committee. Jenny Brady, I'm going to ask them all to stand up for a moment. Jenny Brady, Carly Echols, George Lick, Annie Thompson, Judy Schultz, and Sue Conley. Thank you. You can see before you some of the work they put in, but it's a committee, and I don't want to insult any other committees I've worked on, because I've worked on many, but this is a committee where everyone involved did more than they were asked to do, and I want to tell you what a pleasure it is having the chance to work with such a group of people. They have done this with passion and efficiency. And so keep that in mind. And my optimism in thanking them first goes to show you how good I think this night is going to be. Anyway, thanks to the Dover-Sherborn Boosters Club and Chris Robbins for their assistance with promotion and ticket sales. We'll applaud everyone else at the end, no offense, okay? To Dean Bogan and the custodian staff for the important things they have done behind the scenes. To faculty member Nick Grout, who helped construct the amazing centerpieces. To Betty, Brady, and Dick Hodgson, the flowers are beautiful. Special thanks to the Morgan family for their support of tonight's event. And most of all, I thank all of you for returning to this place as we take a look back in time. Welcome if this is your first time. Welcome back if it's been a while. When the Dover-Sherborn Athletic Hall of Fame was created at the end of 2016, Jeff Parcells bringing to life a concept he explored with boosters Bill Scatcherd and the late Frank Perlmutter, it began the process of giving Dover-Sherborn athletics a history. The full story of this wonderful place begins in the 1960s and extends to the present day. It features tens of thousands of students who played sports, many who excelled as individuals, some who played on championship teams. A Hall of Fame seeks to recognize those athletes who somehow distinguished themselves, who were known because what they did and how they did it left an impression. A coach instructs, motivates, and at best inspires teams to do great things, teaches them how to win. The teams play in games that matter, with titles on the line, at best for a state title. How do you write such a history? Form a committee, get nominations, make selections, hold an induction ceremony? Yes. But what we on the committee have learned may best be described in the words of historian Edward Hallett Carr, who calls history, quote, an unending dialogue between present and past. The Hall of Fame has inspired such a dialogue. The present reaches out to the past because we rely on the memory of those who were there and remember the athletes, coaches, and teams who have done something notable. We ask the past who mattered, and the past responds. In starting to write this history of Dover-Sherborn athletics, we on the committee face several challenges. There are many candidates in all of our categories worth consideration. We will be able to recognize only a few at a time, and we will always face some difficult choices. Getting enough information about candidates is challenging too, especially from years ago. No central database exists where all individual and team records can be found, all achievements listed. At times, the greatness will be clear in numbers. Sometimes, though, what matters most about a player or team can only be appreciated if seen, if witnessed. To tell the DS story, we, collectively, are opening up this vault of past achievement and finding truly outstanding performances by individuals and teams hidden under layers of time. But the Dover-Sherborn past does not speak until we give it life in the present. And the more voices we hear, the more we learn. We need your help and the help of people who are somehow inspired to consider who might belong in our Hall of Fame. We have only begun to get the word out. We're still new at this, but so far the results are promising. It is a story we have just started, and as we write more of it year by year, we will find something essential about athletics and Dover-Sherborn, something defined by those we honor here. Tonight, we recognize, appreciate, and celebrate the achievements of 4 athletes, 1 coach, 1 contributor, and 1 team. Others will help you appreciate what brought each inductee here. At a moment in time, these folks were among the best we've ever had. At this moment in time, we, the members of the Dover-Sherborn community, thank them for what they have done. Thanks. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Andrew Keogh, class of 1980, and local boy who did good by coming back and being the superintendent of the Dover-Sherborn schools. Andrew?
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you for this ceremony, and I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee and the Dover-Sherborn Boosters for bringing this important tradition to the communities of Dover and Sherborn. I have to say, as a DS grad, I was thrilled to see the list of those being nominated for induction this year, and especially see my high school basketball coach, Chris DuBose, included on that list. These individuals represent the very best of Dover-Sherborn's commitment to athletic and academic excellence. However, it was upon learning that Mr. Richard Wakely would be honored tonight that I was truly moved. Mr. Wakely was my headmaster and an important role model in my life. I didn't recognize it at the time and only wish I could have told him personally. Sadly, it's only in hindsight and in being a high school principal for 11 years that I realized what exactly he gave of himself for us, his students. If schools are like large families, and I believe they are, Mr. Wakely was the father of Dover-Sherborn Regional High School. And by the way, Mr. Marlborough, that does not make you his spouse, more like a beloved brother. Mr. Wakely cared for each of us regardless of circumstance and always seemed to check in personally when we needed him most. He had a powerful presence and the ability to peer into one's soul deeply. I can assure you it was impossible to be anything but honest with him when he questioned you about a problem in the smoking lounge. Not that I ever experienced this, of course. I just heard from others. He never ridiculed or condemned us for our poor decisions, which he had every reason to do, leading a group of rambunctious and rebellious young people from the 70s. Instead, he demonstrated consistently that he valued us and believed in our potential to grow and improve. It is no minor coincidence that so many of his students went on to do great things with their lives. He showed us the way. I'm grateful to Mr. Wakely for demonstrating the qualities of a good and decent human being, and sincerely hope he's here to hear this. I'm also thankful to Mrs. Norma Wakely, as I know for certain that she too sacrificed greatly for the sake of the young people of Dover and Sherborn. So congratulations on your husband's well-deserved induction. Once again, I want to thank this evening's honorees. Your contributions to these communities cannot be overstated. Unfortunately, due to an important family obligation, I will not be able to stay to witness your formal induction to the hall, but I want you to know how much I appreciate what you have brought to our school community. Congratulations again, and enjoy the ceremony. Thank you.
Okay, after a little talk, we eat. Now, there is a plan here. So, the food is in the back. If all were to descend on the table at once, we would have chaos. So, we are asking that we follow a routine, little procedure. So, table 220 will be the first table to eat. They will go first. Then 221. There is a decrease in the numbers that are here. Okay, so you will need to consult the numbers as you go. After it appears those people have been satisfied, we move here, here. This table we might skip. Here, here. Now, the numbers, I believe, you are number 6, and you are 227. So you see, we do a little snake pattern, so somebody will get their class. Be patient, mingle, welcome, celebrate, enjoy. Thank you. Boosters. Those of you who have been around Dover-Sherborn know the boosters. They have been here for a while. And their mission is to help Dover-Sherborn athletics in the present and in the future. And with a few words to say about that, Chris Robbins. Chris?
Thank you. So, thank you very much for giving me the floor. I actually sort of brushed this issue with Casey and said, hey, everybody's easy. Provide some entertainment before we get into it. But I know this evening is about all of you and just celebrating your achievements. And so I will be brief. But by way of introduction, my name is Christopher Robbins. I've lived in Sherborn for 22 years. I have 3 kids, 2 teenage daughters. I've been through the system and played sports here, and a younger son. And I've been involved with the Boosters for probably 7 or 8 years, the last couple of years, as the acting president. And I'm just a lover of sports. Like I love what you guys all represent here, and sort of the beauty of what you've learned as in your childhood experiences and what gets taught on and off the field, and being listeners and leaders and winners and losers. And just to let you know, I'm here to celebrate sort of all the same stuff and all the same reasons that you're here back in this gym tonight, but really to elevate and celebrate your accomplishments, and certainly just fan the flames of the pride that I think you all developed when you were here at DS. And just to sort of put a little exclamation point on that, a short story from the current generation. My middle daughter, Kendall, who's a senior, she sat in the back of this gym in 2017 at the first Hall of Fame event with tears streaming down her cheeks as she listened to all the stories being told, and Smokey Whitman recollecting how to break records and win championships. And, you know, she came to me the next day, she said, you know, Dad, that was so awesome, like just getting so front and center and clear with the history that sort of run through the hallways of DS. Fast forward to a week ago, and Kendall and I, with hundreds of others, had the good fortune of running out to Worcester to watch the boys basketball team take this state title. And, you know, for those of you who weren't there, it was awesome. It was electric. The kids were dressed up. The fan zone was going crazy. There were families and alumni from different generations, and it was great. And Kendall left the game and went to some party, and we never actually got to catch up until the next day. We're sitting on the couch. She said, you know, Dad, yesterday, that was awesome. She said, you know, I will never forget that experience. In fact, when we come back to our reunions, we will be talking about these times. And, you know, that's sort of, you can't make that stuff up. And, you know, my own love of being a youth sport athlete and seeing all of you here tonight and what you're celebrating, sort of that's why I think the Boosters is here to want to certainly be a part of this event and certainly be instrumental in helping build this alumni network. But it's also the reason why we are here to sort of officially announce this capital campaign that we are embarking on to upgrade these athletic facilities and the infrastructure that is really in much need of help. And some of you know that the boosters, back in 2010, we started this master plan, and we put the Nora Searle field in. But we are back again today to sort of, hopefully, with the goal of completing what we had started. And I will say over the last 8 years, there's been a lot of pressure on our facilities and our fields, but also a lot of results. And you've heard some of it, but just really quickly, in 8 years, the boys and girls soccer team, multiple divisional titles, the boys and girls cross-sectional champs, they won 4 state titles, the field hockey team, 2-time sectional champs, cross-country, field hockey, track and field, I can't even remember how many they won. The boys baseball team almost won the state championships. The list goes on. Even the tennis, the boys and girls tennis have won 4 sectionals, I believe. And none of that even accounts for the winter sports that we play. So clearly by evidence of all of you in this room tonight, but also just like it's in our blood. It's this thing called coming together and learning on and off the field is palpable. And I can't underestimate the impact that pride and that experience has. But the fact of the matter is, the platforms upon which these battles were fought and won, and where all of you had your childhood experiences, are in quite a bit of disrepair. And the community, the school, the kids, they need us. The tennis program is not in compliance with not enough courts. The baseball and softball diamonds are either underwater or without irrigation. And just being in New England, presents its real seasonal challenges of getting access. Now, I would actually argue that our entire community, from grades K through 12, are compromised by trying to get access to proper fields. And so, but there's a much bigger opportunity here, honestly. I mean, yes, we could argue we need the fields, the upgrade. We all have high expectations for what we hope our kids experience. Both academically, which we're fortunate to have that be a great asset to DS, but also extracurricularly. And, youth sports, playing in high school, it's like the pinnacle of experiential education. You just can't replace it. It has such an impact on your life ongoing that it's time. And, the opportunity, interestingly enough, as Casey was pointing out, is about the past, present, and future. It's about all of us coming together. Because when you think about the boosters, we're just like these, we're a few little parents working vigorously like tiny little bees. We're just focused right what's on front of us. And what's in front of us typically is just the kids that we're parenting, or our friends, or our neighbors and their kids. So we're all about the present moment. But since this project has come alive, we suddenly, our focus is shifted immediately towards the future. And what does that mean for future generations? And can we give them what we have had the good fortune of having? And so it's an important conversation. What is about tomorrow, or next year, or 2035? But all of you here this evening and working with the Hall of Fame Committee and Casey and George, it's not about the past, it's not about the present or the future. It's just instantly taking us into all of your own collective stories and sort of the diversity of great people and achievements that have occurred. And so there is this perfect storm of past, present, and future that we certainly are inspired to want to be a part of. And so I invite you to jump in, hopefully with the same vigor that you did with sports, and support us, participate. It's a big campaign. We'll need $5 million to pull this off. And really where we are at this juncture is hoping to build our own network of lead donors who can throw a big rock in the pond and cause some big ripples that hopefully will flow into this alumni network that we're building, but also our media community, and even the newest families rolling into Dover and Sherborn. So anyway, any questions, please see Casey or George Licht or myself after. Our information is in the program. Just thank you very much for letting the boosters be a part of your great celebration. And congratulations.
Okay, dessert is in the back. Please help yourself. And otherwise, let's begin the celebration. So here's just to explain how it will work. We will be proceeding in alphabetical order according to athletes' names in high school. Then we will recognize our coach, our contributor, and our team. For each of the individual inductees, he or she has selected someone to give an introduction. So I will call the introducer up. I will give the introducer the appropriate plaque. The introducer will say what the introducer will say, giving us a little insight into this person who is going to be inducted tonight. Then we will have a picture, so this is important, and the picture will be which side would you like them on? Did we say this side? So the picture will be on this side. Our Percy, would you please stand up so everyone can recognize you? This is Percy Baruti, our photographer, and she is Okay, so then we will get one of those pictures over here, the plaque in the middle, and then the inductee will give a speech. At the end of the inductee speech, this is important, we want lots of heartfelt applause, please, for achievements done. We are here to celebrate. We are all connected somehow to one, and that makes us connected to all. So that is how it will work. All right. So, our first inductee will be Jenny Hodgson Brady, class of 1984, who will be introduced by her sister. Okay, that was good. That's supposed to be at the end, but that was a good start. So that's just when the name is. So you know that when it's at the end, we got to up that a little bit. We will have 4 chances to get it right. Jenny will be introduced by her sister, Heather Hodgson. Heather? That was good too. The introducers need that support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I think a lot of you may know me. I am Heather, Jennifer's sister. Thank you for coming to Dover-Sherborn tonight for this truly special occasion. We are here tonight to talk about a champion, someone who must always be first, who has an incredible drive to win, who always finds a way to win, someone who leads without being asked, who never backs down from a challenge, and who simply can't stand to be bested. But enough about our dad. This is really Jennifer's night. Seriously, though, we do owe a big thank you to our parents, without whom none of this would have been possible. Love you both. It all started in 4th grade at 10 Acre Country Day School. Jennifer tasted a big victory for the first time. You see, this is where she beat 6th grader Tommy McGill in the long jump. Yes, that Tommy McGill. From that day on, our family was literally off to the races. And yes, we've been chasing her ever since. Jennifer Track's accomplishments mounted. As the records were set and broken, we all stood amazed at her raw talent. She got better and better, and by the time she was running for DS, she was well on her way to achieving the Hall of Fame level status we are conveying upon her tonight. I could go on and on about those races and records, but the list literally fills over 5 pages. So let's just say that she pretty much hit the top mark at most everything she tried. And this wasn't limited to track either. She was a very talented field hockey player. As a junior in high school, Jennifer was one of the youngest players to ever qualify for the U.S. Field Hockey Development Camp B. Most others were in college. So here we are. I can tell you that the sister I knew and loved then is still the same woman I know, I love, I work with, I hang out with, and I will always be with today. I am so proud of her and happy for her tonight. She has worked hard at success then and still does today. That sport ethic, that winning way, never goes away. It's something she'll carry all her life. It's what makes her who she is and who we all love. It is fitting and proper that we gather tonight to celebrate the spirit of sport and the achievement of greatness in our midst. All too often, we don't appreciate it when it's happening. And all too often, we forget to realize the good fortune we've experienced until it's past. But not tonight. Jennifer, you were an amazing high school athlete. You're an amazing mother, sister, aunt, daughter, and friend. To all of us, you are still that high-flying high school superstar that we cheered to victory over and over again. Tonight we gather to toast you and to finally stand beside you, rather than watch you leaving us all in the dust. To you, Jennifer, 3 cheers for the best runner ever at DS. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Thank you. Love you, Jenny.
You may get that.
Oh, I did that. I missed that. Congratulations.
Okay, why don't you go between the
Where? And we didn't plan the colors, you're saying? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Heather, very much. I am so happy to be here with my family and friends. Okay. On this special day, especially my son, Zach. What you do in practice, you do in the ballgame. Dick Hodgson. That was constantly said to me, like forever, and embedded in my mind. That I can say that now that I actually live by it. And I believe, in my opinion, if you want to succeed, you have to put effort into it. And for me, the results were winning. So that was good. I'd like to thank Christine Sorowick, Tom Powers, and Tom Marble for nominating me. Your words were very thoughtful and very moving. Thank you. Okay. The first thing that comes to my mind during my sports career were my friendships with my teammates. We always had fun. We got in a little bit of trouble, not too much. And we always worked hard at practice. We cheered each other on. And we all wanted each other to do well. I always encouraged my teammates, always on the side, because I wanted them to do great. I'd like to thank my coaches, Tom Powers, Lutz Tommy, Phil Penza, Stacia Peters, field hockey, Wayne Releva, sub-coach, and Liberty AC, and my mom and dad for all your support. Tom Powers was my outdoor track coach and cross country. He was, and still is probably, a math genius, and his key part of our relationship into the team was how he could put an athlete into what spot so they could make us win the meet. And because of that, we had 4 Tri-Valley League championships, and we did very well in the state relays and the Class C meets. One summer, Coach Powers encouraged me to participate in a program called Knowles. It is a leadership hiking challenge course in Wyoming. I did attend it, and when I came back, I was a much stronger person, and I have to thank him for that. Coach Penza was my indoor track coach. He was a great motivator, and in his youth, he was a sprinter. Because of his background, I was very successful in the 40, the 300, and the 600. One of my most challenging workouts was through him. One day he said, he grabbed 2 boys from the fastest boys from the boys team and said, "You're doing as many 400s in 60 seconds or less until you drop," basically. I actually made 7 of them. And the following weekend, I won all states in the 600. I made all Globe Scholastic, and I also had the fastest time in the country for the 600. Thank you. And that was from Track and Field magazine. So to summarize, my achievements that I was most proud of was that my junior and senior year, I was rated top 3 in the nation for the 600. My New England championship in the 400, I was undefeated in the Tri-Valley League in any event I did for 4 years. And I had to say I was 3 years in indoor track because my senior year, a teammate, Gina LaRoche, nipped me in the 40 after I came back from Hawaii. But I never lost again. And to this day, which I still can't imagine, I still hold the records, as you guys have read, in the long jump, the 100, and the 200, and the 400. So to end, I have if there's some youth here, I can't see for success, in my opinion, is knowing how to let go of your losses and move forward. And a quote that Mr. Powers, Tom, wrote about me in my nomination, he said, and these are ones I do believe in, is preparation, composure, and perseverance. And with composure, it's really about calming yourself down, controlling your breathing, and getting ready for whatever sport you do. So thank you very much. That's it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to commend you on your applause. That was what we were looking for. Okay, so please remember it. Congratulations, Jenny. Our next inductee, class of 79, Paula Majeski. You can go with the initial. Not sure who she is, but her achievements speak for her. Applause. Go. Not going with that? Okay, good. And she will be introduced by Maura Majeski, her sister. Come on up.
Good evening, and Jen, I just want to say a personal thank you. I had a chance to play with her when we were in high school, and just an amazing athlete, so I just want to give her a personal congratulations. I'm really grateful to have the opportunity today to introduce my sister Paula. You know, our parents are not with us anymore, but I will share with you that their spirit is in this gym. For 8 years, they spent a lot of time in this gym as well as out on those fields, supporting my sisters and myself. And Paula started that as the oldest in the family. I know that we are very grateful for our aunts and uncles are all here today representing our parents, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. It means a lot to me to have you here representing Mom and Dad, and I know it means a lot to Paula. My sister is an amazing athlete. She had grace, grit, and passion, not only for playing the game in her position, but understanding the importance of being on a team. And I think that is really a quality that I know I looked up to as Paula Majeski's little sister. I say that because I had like at least 10 people say that to me today, and it was really funny. Oh, you're Paula Majeski's little sister. And I was like, that is perfect. You know, she's a graduate in 1979. She had 12 varsity letters during her 4 years at Dover-Sherborn, 4 in field hockey, 4 in basketball, 3 in softball, and 1 in tennis. That's amazing, right? Those are a lot of varsity letters. In field hockey, which seemed to be Paula's sweet spot, she was a 3-time Tri-Valley League All-Star. During her senior year, she was team captain, team's most valuable player, Tri-League most valuable player, and the Boston Globe All-Scholastic goalie. I really appreciate that because I got to play goalie in field hockey because I was watching my sister play goalie in field hockey, and she inspired me to play that position, and it was really awesome that she did that. And I think one of my uncles pointed out that she had the lowest percentage of goals scored against her in her 4 years in high school, which is pretty awesome. It's also important that it didn't stop in high school for Paula. She's also been inducted into the Ithaca College Hall of Fame field hockey team. They won a national championship while she was there. So I think that to me was a great experience to be at with her as well. She has many qualities that contribute not only to her athletic, but also her personal journey as we go through life. Paula's a leader. She's a natural leader through her sports that shine through. She'd pick up another player when they were down, and she certainly was never afraid to take that last shot or stand on that line and defend that goal. And that was something that I really admired about Paula. She had the grit and wanted to do that. She had a lot of respect for sports and complete everything she competed in, and she respected other teams. We had a lot of great rivalries in Dover-Sherborn, but after the game was over, we were all friends. Even if you lived in Medfield, if you lived in Westwood, if you lived in you were here in Dover-Sherborn, we all seemed to come together when after the games were over. And that time, I don't know if you see that a lot now, but we did that a lot. We were always spending time with the other teams, and it was really great. I would say that when I came to Dover-Sherborn in 1979, Paula graduated in the spring and I started in the fall, I was known as Paula Majeski's little sister. And you know, I was thinking about that today, and I said I didn't really completely understand or appreciate what that meant when I was a freshman in high school. But now I think about it, and I totally understand that that was an honor to be thought of as Paula Majeski's little sister. So I would say to all the young ladies and all the young athletes that are here today, people like Paula helped so many to understand what it means to be on the field, be in the gym, and compete. We all need role models in our life, and when you're playing sports, you have role models. I had the great opportunity to have a role model in my family, and that to me is an awesome feeling to have. So I want to say to Paula, congratulations on your incredible honor. Your family and your friends are really proud of you.
Picture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it?
Yep.
Well, thank you. That was quite a little speech. It's interesting for me to come up after hearing that. I'm humbled to be here and to see around. Some of my teammates are here. And like Moore said, for me, the greatest part of playing sports and being an athlete was being part of a team. Because to me, the relationships and the value of that has carried on. I'm still friends with people today that I've known since then. When I see someone I haven't seen in a long time, the bond is just embedded here in my heart for all of the times that we played together. You know, it's funny, that was my table when I came in, and I was a little concerned that I was sitting by myself, and actually there was a mistake made. But I joked that my parents are sitting there, and anybody else's relatives that are no longer with us. So that's the honorary table for the legal moment. You know, my parents were such a strong influence. Both of them were athletic. My mom was the competitor. She had a tenacity about her. She would go to work events and play softball, and she was a pitcher. So she would go and strike out everybody. And they didn't expect that from her. Because for her, we were young ladies first, and then she'd see the line, and she'd go, when you cross that line, you can be as crazy as you want. But when you come back across that line, I expect to see a young lady. So we were taught how to bridge that back and forth. And my dad really stood up for me. The most poignant story is when I was 11 years old, and I wanted to play baseball. And at that time, you know, centuries ago, girls didn't play Little League baseball. So he signed me up. My name is Paula Majeski. So they thought my name was Paul A. Majeski. And those of you who know my dad, he was a pretty intimidating looking guy. So he went to the tryouts, and they said, she can't play. He goes, she paid her money, let her try out. So they finally were like, okay, we'll let her try out. So then they all started going, oh, we'll take her, we'll take her. Because I was 11 years old and I was already this height. And I could play first base and catch pretty much anything. So my parents really stood up for us and showed up for us. Traveled all around the world here to follow us. I played tournaments in Illinois and all over the world here. And they're also parents. Judy Oker was part of my basketball team. She's here. And her parents came to my college games. They traveled 6 hours by car to watch me play field hockey. And it was just an amazing thing to have that kind of community support for people just showing up for each other. So I'm really grateful for this here. You know, I'm not much for the individual acknowledgement. I've never done well in receiving that, so this is kind of a stretch for me to do it myself. I'm more interested in the team aspect. Now, in the corporate world, I was a team builder and a trainer. I coach people personally now as part of what I do for work. So my goal has always been how to be the best member of a team and how to get the highest good for everybody. To practice kindness and being loving with each other. To me, are the most fundamental things, and the best things I took away from these team things. When I looked at the accomplishments, I don't think those are my greatest accomplishments. I think my greatest accomplishments is the relationships I've developed. You know, with my sister, you know, there's 3 of us, and the hours of practice that we put in, I would say to Maura at any time, you know, come shoot baskets with me, because my understanding is it takes 10,000 hours of practice to become a master at anything. So she showed up for me, whatever I wanted to play. Hockey, basketball, tennis, whatever. She's always game, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Our next inductee is Chris Pavlik, class of '89, who will be introduced by his basketball coach and the coach who is being inducted tonight, Chris DeBose. Chris?
Thanks.
I met Chris Pavlik on a weekday in the summer of 1985, the summer before he would enter high school as a freshman. The Pavliks were just moving into their new house in Sherborn when I stopped by to see whether the old residents, the All-Peters, family of Kurt who had played guard at DS, had left yet. Well, the All-Peters were gone, and the Pavliks were in. I met Mom, Bobby, unpacking boxes in the kitchen. Dad, John, was at work. Chris and Mike were somewhere in the house. And the next week, both boys were signed up to play at the Dover-Sherborn summer basketball camp, and Chris's basketball career at Dover-Sherborn was launched. In Chris's 3 years on the boys' varsity, he helped the team to 2 TVL championships and some memorable runs in the South Sectional Tournament. Most notably, an iconic game versus Cohasset, the videotape of which Chris was not able to view for more than 20 years because it was such a tough loss. He had hit a 3 to push it into overtime off the dribble, but it wasn't going to turn out our way. But it was one of the most exciting and well-played games I ever coached. Chris is deserving of the Hall of Fame for a couple of reasons. First, he was a sensational athlete, lettering in 3 sports, quarterbacking an 8-2 football team his senior year, scoring 1,200 points, as some of my players and former players will say, he's on the wall. High jumping 6'3" in track and field, and even as he competed tirelessly in athletics, he achieved just as much in the classroom, gaining admission to Princeton University, where he lettered in basketball, and from which he graduated in 1993. In his professional and personal life, he and his wife, Allie, have 2 boys. Chris has maintained the same intensity, humility, and humor that he demonstrated in his 4 great years here at DS. Congratulations, Chris, on your entrance into the Dover-Sherborn Athletic Hall of Fame.
Picture? You take it. Here, you go. Yes. Thanks. I'll take it to the table.
Hi. 1989 was a long time ago, so I put the reading glasses on. Thank you all for coming today. Congratulations to all the other inductees and to the Hall of Fame committee for considering me for this honor. I appreciate it very much. I would be remiss if before I started I didn't offer congratulations to the state championship team that I got to watch last Saturday at Holy Cross. Coach Rick Grady, great job, super impressive team. And my brother and I were actually texting about it, about how you can be so proud of someone else's accomplishment, but we really were, so congratulations. So I do have the obligatory list of people to thank. I'd like to thank my wife, Allie, and our sons, Jackson and Lane. Obviously, you did not know me then, but I could regrow the mullet haircut if you'd like. My mom and dad are here today. Countless rides to countless games and practices. I could go through a list of things to thank you for, but it wouldn't be long enough, so thank you very much for everything. My brother Mike couldn't be here tonight, but he knows how much I appreciate him. So, back to high school athletics. So, it feels a little odd being up here today when I wasn't even the best player on my high school basketball team. So, I'd like to give a shout out to Trent Forbes, who to this day, at any level that I played at, was the best player that I ever played with. And I'll tell one quick story of the kind of guy Trent is. I think everyone knows what kind of player he was. I don't know if you remember this, Trent, but so I was a sophomore at Princeton, and we were playing Brown in Providence. And we had a shoot-around at Providence College that morning where Trent played. And so it's 10 in the morning, and I'm trudging along with the team, and there's like a stack of gym mats in the hallway. And so I mind my own business walking in, and Trent is standing on top of the mats. And he starts screaming at Coach Pete Carrillo, asking him why I wasn't playing more. So it was, that support couldn't be more appreciated, but I heard a lot about what you said over the next couple weeks of practice. Who's that Trent guy? He doesn't know what he's talking about. But thank you, Trent. So I could stand up here and sort of relay countless stories of countless games, and nobody really wants to hear that. But the people that were a part of this school and a part of this community, from Chris DeBose, Casey Potts, I caught up with Don Cannon earlier. I think Jim Lorenzen is here. Obviously, Mr. Wakely. Sort of embedded a culture where, whether it was basketball or football or track or preparing for the SATs or playing a musical instrument or whatever sort of passion a kid had or what endeavor they wanted to pursue, this place has always, at least in my mind, and it sounds like it still is this way, able to sort of give a collective push to help that kid perhaps achieve things that he or she didn't think they could originally. And I think, in summary, that's what I would say is the most important thing about this place, and it's the reason that I'm able to stand up here and say thank you for this honor. So, very much appreciated. Thank you all for coming, and have a good night.
Our final individual inductee is Ellen Willie Jelimes, class of 2002, who will be introduced by Mark Nickerson, the former Dover-Sherborn, and it's hard for me to say this, but I will, and current Medfield basketball coach. Come on up, Mark.
I thought I actually might get a few more boos than that, but thank you. So this week I actually delivered a speech to my basketball team about the beauty of high school athletics. I talked about competition, teamwork, relationships that are created, hard work, and excellence. Ellen's high school career was filled with all of these things. She was a fierce competitor, an incredible teammate. She worked tirelessly because of her passion for athletics and her dedication to her teammates, and she excelled at the highest level. That's why she's here today. I was fortunate to be Ellen's basketball coach her junior and senior year, and I'm fortunate to have her coaching with me to this day. She enriched my experience as a coach, just as she did for all her teammates and those girls that have played for her. She is a leader and a role model, on and off the court, and a superior athlete, and is worthy of the induction to your Hall of Fame today. It is my honor to introduce Ellen Willie Jelimes.
Thank you, Mark, for the introduction. Going to be honest with you, I was a little nervous getting up here and having to do a speech, but after listening to a lot of Mark's banquet speeches while I was in high school and now coaching with him, gave me a little bit of confidence, so thank you for that. So when I first got the call from Mr. Potts, Casey Potts, a few things ran through my head. Of course, I was very honored to become a part of the Hall of Fame. Then I was reading through his email, and the word speech came up, and I said, great. Probably should have taken that public speaking course back in high school. I started sweating a little bit, and then I thought to myself, I can brag about this to my older brother, who is also a Dover-Sherborn athlete here. So we're a little competitive family. Mom, would you attest to that? Yes. So anyways, all joking aside, I want to thank Dover-Sherborn Hall of Fame Induction Committee for recognizing my athletic accomplishments. This is such an incredible honor and privilege and accomplishment that I will always cherish with great pride. I also want to congratulate the other inductees, coaches, and teams who are here today. It's an honor to be going into the Hall of Fame with such an outstanding group. I'd like to spend some time thanking the people who played a role in my athletic career, because I know how lucky I was to have such an amazing sports system. I'd like to thank my parents, Maureen and Bob, my brother and sister, Mike and Megan, for their endless support. Mom and Dad, you're the biggest reason I'm on this stage. In fact, you're all the reasons. Not a day doesn't go by that I'm not thankful for all the things you have done for me. I love you both beyond words, and my family has taught me everything about the game of life, knowing the difference between right and wrong, and to be confident in yourself. You've always been there to encourage, console, and motivate me when I needed it the most. Mom and Dad, you've made a lifetime of sacrifices for me, so I wanted to thank you for that in front of everyone tonight. I wanted to thank my husband, Justin, for supporting me now through my coaching days. Since college, I've been coaching with Mark as the assistant girls basketball coach in Medfield. Justin has supported this passion to stay connected to athletics. It's a huge commitment, and I thank you for taking over the house, doing a double bedtime every night with our 2 small children. I want to thank all my high school coaches. Through soccer, basketball, and softball, I've had several role models and different coaching styles to learn from. The common thread with all of these coaches has been to be a team player, which is something that I stress with the teams that I have coached in Medfield. I want to thank my teammates. Throughout my life, I've been part of many different teams, from middle school to high school and even post-college. Being a part of a team means so much more than the title that comes with it, and you will learn that each and every time you walk into a game or practice. There's no greater inspiration and motivation than walking into practice every night and having a group of people who are willing to work as hard as they can to achieve what we all came to do. My teammates have been some of my best friends. Like I mentioned before, the most important aspect of a team is the relationships among everyone as a whole. As a group, you're more likely to accomplish something together than alone. When I think back to the time I spent here at Dover-Sherborn High School, it is always with fond memories and good feelings. And growing up in this community has a profound effect on me in general. All that makes it even more special to have been chosen to receive this award. I want to thank all my teachers that I had for my 4 years at DS for my education as a student athlete and inspiring me to become a teacher and a high school basketball coach myself. As a child, I was given the opportunity to try many sports and activities. I was also given the opportunity to try piano in the 3rd grade, but let's just say that ended quickly with only 1 session. There are so many memories that I have from athletics that started from a young age here in Sherborn. The strong youth programs that really started my love for sports. My friends and I still joke about the team dinners, the team sleepovers, dress-up days, the bus rides that we shared together. One of my greatest memories I have from high school is what we called the road to the garden. My senior year, our basketball team made it to a state championship, and the final game was at the Boston Garden. Just to give you a little history on my basketball team. When I was a freshman, I remember playing Medfield, and the score of the game was 71-17. We were on the losing end. So to say that we came a long way is an understatement. The journey there was filled with many memories. I can remember the excitement as the entire school filled up the bleachers, dressed up in white, and was chanting for us. I can remember when we had fan buses to go to the games as we got farther into the tournament. I remember the opposing fans at Stonehill College holding up newspapers as we were introduced, which only motivated us more. I can remember getting off the bus in Boston and walking onto the floor where the Celtics played and sitting in their locker rooms. Even though we had lost the game, I think we should have won that game, it was the journey with my team that I will always remember. Dover-Sherborn High School has fully supported us and rallied behind us. I actually think they dismissed the entire high school that day so everyone could come to the game. My senior year soccer team was also a special memory for me. We had 14 seniors, all friends of mine that had been playing together since we were little girls. The special thing about this team is that we were all best friends and we really supported each other through the good and the bad. I can remember the time our softball team snuck into the parking lot at night to paint the rock. Though we might have not been the best team in DS history, I think we had more mercy rules than victories, but we still worked hard and had fun playing a game that we all enjoyed. Softball was also special for me because my grandfather was our manager. He would sit on the bench with us and he would do our book for every game. Even though we had a lot of losses, he would always point out something special and something positive from every game. My 4 years at DS as a student athlete has prepared me for the real world. Being a student athlete from Dover-Sherborn has taught me time management, how to fail, commitment, teamwork, stay positive, being grateful, and don't take life too seriously. In conclusion, I want to thank you for this honor. I'm proud to say that I'm a graduate of Dover-Sherborn. Thank you for providing some of the best memories of my life.
Okay, one inductee in the category of coach. I happen to have worked with this man for a few years, coached with him 26, 28 years, 26 as JV coach, 28 as his assistant overall. I taught English with him for many years, very good friend of mine. But Chris DuBose will be introduced by former Dover-Sherborn basketball player Trent Forbes and a former Dover-Sherborn tennis player who happens to be Chris's daughter, Megan Fitzpatrick. So Trent and Megan, come on up.
Hello. I have the pleasure tonight of introducing my dad, Christopher Hayes DuBose. My dad, Chris, was born in Webster Groves, Missouri in 1949. He moved to Framingham at age 8 with his brother, sister, and his parents. And I'm told that at that point, he more or less took to the streets. He always had a ball or a frisbee, and sounds like most of his time in his life was spent outside playing sports with friends and with his brother. I am told of a pretty sizable baseball card collection, listening to games on the radio with his brother John. When he was in high school at Framingham North, he was a 3-sport varsity athlete, baseball, football captain and quarterback, and basketball captain. He went on to Harvard, where he played freshman baseball, and sophomore and junior year he played basketball. At that point, when he graduated from college, he went to graduate school in Connecticut, and that was his first year as a coach. So he was a freshman basketball coach at Middletown High School, which is where he met one of his very closest friends, Tommy Lavella. He then moved on to Keefe Tech for a year as a basketball coach and a teacher. And in 1975, he arrived here. And my math wasn't as good as what's in the program, so that is better for you to look at kind of his years. But I calculated more or less 80 seasons of coaching, give or take times 15 players per team. So we're looking at over 1,000 student athletes that my dad worked with. Although he retired in 2007, which is 12 years ago now, he is still coaching. So I'm getting 45 years of coaching, which is older than me. I had the pleasure of having him as a coach for 4 years as a tennis player. He was also my class advisor, which meant field trips, prom. He was my homeroom teacher all 4 years. So I spent lots of time with my dad. And that experience to get to know my dad and his job and what he did for work was pretty unique and impactful on my life. I'm approaching my 20th year as a teacher. And fortunately, my dad was a pretty cool guy. He was an English teacher for 32 years. As a teacher, he taught Siddhartha, Raymond Carver. He taught gerunds and past participles, a whole lot of grammar. He taught me and many of my friends how to write an essay. As a coach, he was just as much a teacher. His lessons were less about essay writing and more about teamwork, less about grammar, more about humility. And as a coach, there's a few things that I think my dad kind of embodies and passes on to his players. One, dedication and commitment to the game. At practice, you work hard. In tennis is a spring sport. With spring comes the prom, and with prom comes tans and tan lines. So we would try to sneak in some tanning during tennis practice, which did not fly. That would require a lap around the fields, which sometimes we were willing to run that lap. I remember as a kid, we had two children in my family. They were both girls. That was going to be it. So my recollection is sort of that my dad wanted to make sure that we knew how to throw and shoot and hit a basketball, and shoot a basketball and hit a tennis ball. And we spent many, many hours in the backyard, up at the Medway courts at Charles River Tennis Club, learning to do those things. And I thank you for that. To this day, my nephew Carrick and my dad will have full 9-inning baseball games, the two of them, just the two of them. My parents joined the Burlington Tennis Club last year. They're transitioning up to Vermont, which is where my sister and my families live. And they would bring the 4 grandkids there to practice tennis at any opportunity. There was no excuses for my dad in terms of attending practice, attending games. Tall ships, I hear, were not an excuse. Ski vacations at Christmas time, absolutely off the table. Even prom really was not an excuse not to attend a game or practice. As a coach, my dad teaches his players about balance. Although he is an avid sports fan, he's written a novel about a basketball team, about a basketball coach and his team, 2 books of poetry. He listens to all kinds of music. He currently plays pool in an old person's league. I don't know how else to describe it. I think that's what it is. He spends time with our family. He tutors. So he is able to maintain a balance in his life. Academics always come first. As I said, he was my homeroom teacher, and one of the things about Dad as a homeroom teacher is there was no excuse for being late. If you were late, you went to the office, you got a late slip. On the 3rd time you were late, you would get a detention that day. That was just the deal. So in the spring, my senior year, I think he must have known I was low on gas in my car, I'm not sure. He said, "Do you want to ride to school? We have a match today. You have 2 lates already." I said, "No, I'll be fine." I ran out of gas. I was late. I got a detention that day, and I did not play in our tennis match. Dad teaches his players the power of camaraderie. He organizes alumni games here at DS. He attends alumni games at Harvard. He, as you know, shown by some of the players that are here, he maintains relationships and friendships with his former players. My daughter, I said, you know, tell me about Granddad and what, you know, something about sports. And she said, well, even though he's a lot older than us, he always tries to run, keep up with us, you know, do the same things we do. Sorry, I'm almost done. He plays golf with his former players. He goes to see Trent's daughter play in Rhode Island. He was at Rick's team's championship game last weekend. Congratulations. I know surrounded by Casey and a bunch of you guys, and that means the world to him. Most of all, my dad has passed on his passion and love of sport, whatever it is, except hockey, which was not allowed in our house because hockey players meant that they could not be basketball players. So hockey was not really part of our world growing up. When we were growing up, there wasn't a lot of TV in our house. Games, always fine. My mom was his statistician. All his 32 years of coaching here at DS, she would do a one-page stat sheet that had every player, assists, steals, shots taken, like plus minus. I mean, it was pretty remarkable. My sister and I, both married basketball coaches. Carrick, my nephew, is on his way to becoming a pretty stellar basketball player himself, with my dad attending his practices when he can. The Dover-Sherborn basketball camp, he's still a counselor at the Dover-Sherborn basketball camp. My mom took our kids out of school on Thursday to go see the tournament, see UVM play in the tournament down in Hartford. And again, my dad is still coaching. He's coaching in Medfield, which is still a question mark for me. Can't quite make sense of the rival school, but I know that his heart is here and in this gym. So for him, it's really just the color of the chip, whether it's the Celtics or Carrick's AAU team, whether it's in the backyard or whether it's at the Boston Garden, it truly is more than just a game. So on behalf of the 1,000+ athletes that you have coached over the last 45 years, Dad, thank you for these lessons and so many more. And congratulations on a much-deserved honor and on an incredible career.
I'm truly honored to be up here to introduce Coach DeBose, but before I do that, I want to say congratulations to Coach Grady. That's major accomplishment. Proud of you. All right, before I start, I just wanted to acknowledge, I was told not to do this, but I never listened to Mr. DeBose, but I'm going to do this anyway. I just want to acknowledge her, because if it wasn't for her, none of us would be sitting here. She's the backbone of our family, and without her, my man wouldn't be being inducted into this Hall of Fame. So let's give her a round of applause, please. First and foremost, let me start by saying thank you, Coach DeBose, for just your commitment, your guidance, your support and belief. Thank you for being a great role model for myself and the hundreds, if not thousands, of young people that have come through Dover-Sherborn. As you can see, you are loved by the support that you have, by the former players that are here. Thank you for being a great coach. Thank you for teaching us how to play the game the right way. Thank you for showing us how to compete, which was evidence on Saturday mornings when we would come in here, we would play up, we'd go up and down for 2 or 3 hours, and Coach DeBose would be elbowing us in the mouth, and we'd leave out of here with lots of bumps and bruises. But he taught me how to compete, and so not only in basketball, but just in life. And that's a lesson that I to this day, that I try to bring to my kids, to my girls. Just compete, Coach. Thank you for that. Coach, thank you for teaching us how to be better basketball players, teaching me how to be a teacher, a coach, a better husband, a father, and most importantly, how to be a better man. I patterned my life after yours. I married a lovely lady. I have 2 beautiful daughters. They both play the game, and that's all because of you, my man. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. You've been a dad to me. I didn't grow up with my father. When I needed rides to practice, you were there. I played in the game in Kentucky. You and your wife came down to see me play, and that meant just so much to me. Again, without further ado, I just want to thank you again, Coach Christobos.
Get the flat. You know how this works.
Picture
You want no obstruction.
Okay. Just stand on my tiptoes at the time. Me too.
Thank you, Megan and Trent. And one more time, or maybe 7 more times, but Coach Grady, congratulations. That was an awesome state championship team. Woo! Oh! Many thanks to many people. First of all, thank you to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for considering me. Those of you who know me well know how deeply meaningful this honor is to me. I've always defined myself as a teacher and a coach, and to be honored in this gym, where I spent so many hours and seasons, provides the perfect setting. Thank you, Dick Wakely and Jim Lorenzen, for hiring me in 1975 to teach English and to coach basketball. And thank you, Jim, again in 1986 for hiring me to coach tennis. Thank you to my wife, Jan, and my daughters, Julie and Megan, who supported my passion for coaching. My daughters grew up in the stands right over there, fortified by M&Ms and coloring books. And then when they matured, they moved down to the front row and were a quasi part of the cheerleading squad. Gradually, they started paying more attention to the ball being bounced and dribbled and passed and shot. And eventually, each girl became a talented Dover-Sherborn athlete herself in track and field, soccer, and tennis. And Jan sat in those stands long after Julie and Megan went off to college. In those stands, and in probably the stands of 50 other gyms, including the Boston Garden twice, keeping accurate and copious stats, while reading the faces and the body language of the players and me for a brief post-game analysis when we got home. I usually got home an hour or 2 after Jan did, because I was with my players whether we won or lost. We were figuring it out for the next game. Thank you also to the man who sat beside me for just about all those 32 years, Casey. As our assistant coach, Casey made 2 invaluable contributions. First, he developed the next group of players for our varsity, and they came armed with great skills. And second, he provided dozens of ideas in the midst of every game, suggesting a different defense, player substitutions. I can hear him saying, late, maybe one of our last years, time for Cook. Time for Cook. He's on the wall. Hey, Ellen, congratulations, you're on the wall. Very nice. And helping me to figure out how to stop our opposition's best scorer, and Casey knew how to score. So that allowed him to understand how to perhaps stop a great scorer. Casey's already a Dover-Sherborn Hall of Famer himself as an athlete, but he shares in this honor. And I most want to thank the athletes who strived to be the best, who prepared themselves in the off-season to be a better player, who sometimes had to accept a minor role on our team, who helped us succeed. I figure a couple hundred tennis and basketball players led us onto the courts over those 30-plus years. And it was their passion and their ambition that led to our success. One of the greatest elements of sports in a teenager's life is the opportunity to belong to something that's greater than him or herself. Athletics are maturity builders, I think, because they teach us to coordinate our efforts with the efforts of others. And a kind of, if it's working right, ballet of the egos, I think. Because if you don't have ego, you're not going to be great. But then, as being part of a team, you have to kind of alter that ego or subdue that ego to be part of the team. And to try to share with you what I always saw as the gift athletics provide, I want to read for you a message I wrote to one of my 1980s teams, a message that was printed on the program, on the back page of the program of at the season-ending banquet. So this is from the mid-'80s, and it says a coach's message. And it starts, "There's nothing stronger than a person's capacity to dream." And then I went on talking about Gatsby and all the stuff that English teachers talk about. But then it goes on. "I still dream of standing in center court of a TVL gym. The center circle," and all the players can picture this, "hands together, congratulating my boys for being champions. Now, those who can no longer dream of TVL titles, the seniors who are moving on, they have to alter their visions. No problem. As we grow older, we move on to other challenges and different faces. Yet the voice in my dream is always the same. A well-respected friend of mine comes up to me, grips my hand firmly, looks deeply into my eyes, and says, 'Congratulations.' And my heart plunges a little, and I get a little glistening in my eye. For me, the dream comes true." This is me in the 80s, "coaching basketball at Dover-Sherborn High School. But to dream alone is pointless. It takes a dozen players, a couple dozen parents, a group of idolatrous youngsters, some reverent cheerleaders. And for us to win a championship, I need at least one player who puts his coach's evaluation on his mirror and glances at it every morning and dreams with me. Whoever it is has to put aside self-consciousness for a year because he has to be above his peers' comments." I think of, again, one of our, in my coaching time, one of the better players that played at the very end of my tenure was a kid named Dan Cook, who for 4 years in high school never appeared in school without a basketball in his hand. And a lot of kids are going to call that weird. And Dan was above that. And Dan was a great player because he was willing to do something like that. I mean, it's not like it made him a better player, but it's just his sense of commitment. So whoever it is has to put aside self-consciousness. And I end my message that year. I'll know who it is. I'll recognize him from my dream. Excuse me, let me find it. That coach's evaluation is, in a way, the promise between the player and the coach. At the conclusion of every basketball season and every tennis season, I always issued a personal evaluation to the player, strengths, weaknesses, what to work on. In both tennis and basketball, that evaluation always served as the connection between next year's players and me. It was my reminder to them that no one can limit how much you will improve between now and next season. In fact, I know of at least 2 athletes who still have their off-season evaluation in their possession, a reminder of their hard work and the success that accrues from that effort. And perhaps my proudest moment as a coach came in the mid-'90s in the South Sectional semifinal tennis match, sorry basketball players, versus Scituate. The previous spring, my singles players had all lost in straight sets to their Scituate counterparts, knocking us out of the postseason tournament. The next spring, we faced the same lineup, Scituate, same opponents, the same positions. Our Dover-Sherborn girls might have had some doubts, but they did not doubt. They ignored the results of the previous year, won all 3 of those singles matches, 2 of them in 3 lengthy sets, to push us ahead to the South Finals, which we also won. I'm here. I could name those 3 girls who developed the belief in themselves, but I don't think I should honor those 3 without naming all the other young men and women who dreamed of success and then went out to prepare for it and then achieved it. I think of dozens of faces, even more athletic moments that both the players and I will never forget. Sometime early in this century, and it seems so peculiar to use that phrase. It's like I'm part of history. Sometime early in this century, as I started to understand that my teaching and coaching career was coming to an end, I retired in 2007. I understood that I was leaving an impression on all these young people, for good or for bad. As I thought about what impact I wanted to have, I kept coming back to the ideal of integrity, the idea that we want to do things in our lives for the right reasons and in the right manner. So one August, in getting ready for another year of teaching and coaching, I engineered what I believed was a thought-provoking statement that I introduced to my students on the first or second day of school. We talked about it, I typed it, laminated it, mounted it on the bulletin board, so my students might keep considering it all year. I imagine, probably falsely, that there are 30 or 40 or 50 or 70 or whatever number of people that still have this philosophy in their heads. I'm not sure about that, but I'd like to think so. So the thought was this: in the end, we'll be measured by the integrity of our effort and the purity of our purpose, not by the list of our accomplishments or the dimensions of our wealth. I wanted my students and players to lose their egos as they tried to discover how much they can accomplish in their efforts, in their dreams, and in their lives. I'm still a dreamer. I dream that I've lived up to my ideal at times, and I've helped some young people find a path to their own integrity. I dream that I might have that same influence on my grandchildren. Thank you, committee, for this honor. Thank you, athletes, for dreaming with me. Thank you, Dover-Sherborn, for providing me with the perfect way to spend my working life.
There really is something about this place. As I said, the Hall of Fame is a work in progress. And last year, after we had our first class of inductees, we realized that we were missing a category for someone who wasn't a player, who wasn't a coach, but who definitely mattered. And so we came up with the title of contributor. It means many things, and it allows us to recognize some very important people here. Our first contributor, who will be recognized posthumously, is the man who gave his name to the gym, who the man who ran these schools for 25 important years, and also on a personal level, a man who might be one of the most important people who ever happened in my life. Richard J. Wakely will be introduced by Thomas Powers, a former DS teacher and coach. And to accept the award on his late father's behalf is Jeff Wakely, Dick's son.
Good evening, thank you. I'm honored to speak about Dick upon his induction into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to this year's inductees and to the selection committee for their excellent choices. I'm very pleased to see the addition of the contributor category to this year's selections. While the players and coaches received many well-deserved accolades, there are many other people that play an integral role in a school's athletic program. Administrators, athletic directors, support staff, and boosters all contribute significantly to the overall success of a program. I am confident that during the next several years, the committee will continue to recognize many more of these worthy contributors. It is appropriate that Dick is the first contributor to be honored. Dick was the architect of the athletic program at Dover-Sherborn, as he was involved in most of the key decisions during the early years. While Dick was certainly an educator first, he was also an avid sports fan who recognized the vital role that sports and other extracurricular activities played in the overall education of a high school student. He always encouraged coaches and athletes to find a balance as the students pursued both academic and athletic success. One of Dick's most important decisions was the choice of Jim Lorenzen to head the athletics program. Jim was a superb athletic director who worked closely with Dick on all aspects of building the program. During those key years, Dick empowered Jim as he did his job, but he was always actively a participant in decisions when his input was requested. Dick also remained committed to supporting the collective decision that had been made. One of the critical areas where Dick's value was felt was the hiring of coaches. Whenever possible, Dick tried to hire teachers who also had the ability and desire to coach. This ensured effective communication among administrators, coaches, and athletes. Dick and Jim also focused on recruiting coaches from two other important groups. They recruited some of our best coaches from the ranks of former Dover-Sherborn athletes, as well as from residents of the town who had expertise and an interest in coaching. Dick had a deep appreciation for sports, and he enjoyed them at the high school, college, and professional level. He regularly attended events across all Dover-Sherborn sports and enjoyed his interaction with the athletes. Dick was also a frequent contributor in acknowledging success the morning after a game. As we checked in at school, he was always there with his congratulations after a win or his commiseration over a loss. He always managed to offer his encouragement and occasionally a suggestion or a play call to be stored away for future use. Whenever there was an important issue, we could always count on Dick's support. As a coach, I always was quick to inform Dick of our successes as well as our failures on the field. However, I was even quicker to inform him and seek counsel from him when any problems arose. Fortunately, this did not happen often, but it was reassuring to know that I could always rely on his guidance. Dick was a dynamic leader and a perceptive and valuable mentor for many of us who had the opportunity to work with him. However, his most important contribution was being a loyal friend. I will always value that friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and the Hall of Fame committee. I'm pretty unprepared to speak after that, so I will keep this short. I'd like to acknowledge my mother sitting at the table there. So again, thank you for this acknowledgement. It means a lot to us to have him recognized. You know, this school was his life outside of us as his family, and he was most proud of it. You know, he was an educator first, as Tom said, and there was no cutting corners around that for sports. He would not have succeeded as a dean in the Southeastern Conference or anything like that, for sure, right? You went to school, you got grades in order to play. But saying that, I don't believe there was a more loyal supporter of the athletic program than my father. He loved it. I remember from being 5 years old, he was dragging me to every game. And we grew up in Medfield, so I had to enter the home of the hated rival, but it was a great time, and some of my fondest memories of him were, coming to games here at Dover. So I saw Casey play. I saw you break your wrist, right, in Hopkinton? Is that right? Something like that. So, but again, this school meant the world to him. It's so nice to see him recognized, to see the gym named after him. He really did love the place, and again, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, a long time ago, in 1974, something happened here that really mattered. It involved a group of people and a coach. And they are here. Many of the players are here tonight, and the coach is here, the 1974 girls field hockey team. So speaking first, I suppose you can all come up at once. The stage is big enough. So why don't you all come up? Coach will speak first, designated speakers second. Please welcome the 1974 field hockey team. Come on up.
Are you all up?
Everybody up?
Linda, you are too. This we were trying to recreate our picture. That's not working.
Quietly.
Okay. Anyway, when Casey called me or texted me, I don't even remember. Okay. I was using my outdoor. Thought I was using my outdoor books. When Casey got in touch with me, he asked me to, say a few words, memories about the team, and I was thinking, that was 45 years ago. I don't remember. And so as the time got more, closer and closer, and Casey sent me a picture of the girls. They're still girls to me, sorry. And I started looking at them, and I was thinking, yeah, I remember some things. So as I was walking in tonight, the first person I saw came over. No, Kelly? Who was it? Kelly. The first person that came over was like, I looked at her and she was like, it's me, Kelly. And then from that point on, I was like, tell me as people come in who they are so that I could recognize everybody. And this has been amazing. I don't even know how to say it. Seeing all of these, they're still girls to me, but they're women, they're mothers, they're wives, they're grandmothers. And it's just been wonderful seeing them and hearing all about what their lives have been. So I'm going to try and remember some of the things that some of you might not know about. And I'm going to do a fact check on something that you said about Paula. I don't think that she was the least scored upon goalie. I think it was Kathy. And that's where's right here. No, I know where Kathy is. Oh, okay, college, you're probably right. But I got to give my girls the credit that they're due. And speaking about Paula and Kathy, Paula told me a story tonight that I didn't really remember, but I do need you all to hear. Kathy got mono during the season, and it was at the end of the season, I think, wasn't it, when you got mono?
Yeah.
Did you get sick?
No, not that I recall.
Okay. Then Paula told me this story, and maybe this is why I didn't remember it. And she said Kathy couldn't play one day. And so I went over to her and I gave her Kathy's leg pads. And she said, yeah. And I said, you're going to be goalie. And she was like, okay. And she was only a freshman. Were you a freshman at the time? Okay. And then she said, I don't know how to put these on. I said, we'll figure it out. And I walked away, and then she came and she played, and I think we probably won that game, right? Okay. So that was a story I didn't remember, and this has been happening all night, and it's sort of been neat. But what I do remember is coming back from a game, and there was a complaint from the bus driver because apparently these young ladies were not very controlled on the bus, and they had this warrior cry.
Oh, yeah.
And which was blood, gore, guts, victory. And as they were saying it, they were taking their sticks and pounding the ceiling of the bus so that some of the buses that we used were not in the best shape when the games were over. I also remember things like Kathy, again, teaching me about a jump stop for goalies, which you have to understand, I was fresh out of college. Jim hired me for some reason and came and said to me, and you're going to coach field hockey, gymnastics, and softball. And I was like, okay. And since field hockey was the first season, I read up on that and got with Ralph Powers, who was the soccer coach at the time, and I said to him, since the games are so similar, can you give me some hints? So it worked out pretty well. But I have to say that I really can't take credit for what happened. I happened to be fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with this wonderful group of now older women, and they were amazingly dedicated. They were amazingly athletic, and they worked really, really hard. Win or lose, they always had the attitude that they could do it. And somebody else said that for the championship that you were in, they closed school. We were the first ones they did that for. School was ended. A half day, I don't remember. And they got buses, and they brought everyone to the state championship game. And it was amazing to have that kind of a crowd. And I remember Jim was standing next to me, and I hope this is right.
Keep going. Did you score that last?
Okay. Then this is the right. Everything sort of flows together. Jim was standing next to me. It was a 0-0 game, or maybe I don't know. It was tied, and there were like seconds left. And all of a sudden, Debbie gets the ball, and she goes tearing down the side. She was a wing at the time. She goes, what? I mean, she was center, like I said. And she goes tearing down the side. See how well I remember all this? And all of a sudden, with like seconds left, she scores. And Jim and I are standing there. We're going crazy, screaming and everything. So, but also at halftime, since we weren't winning, I said to the girls, there's 2 trophies. I do remember this. Do you remember this? I hope so. I said, there's 2 trophies out there. One's silver, one's gold. I want to take home the gold. And they were all like, ah! And then they went out and they did it. And again, no thanks to me. It was, all the credit should go to them. But the next morning, I was being interviewed on the radio, and it was like at 7 in the morning or something on a Saturday. And so the phone rings, and I go to pick it up, and I go, hello? I had no voice. So the interviewer was asking me questions, and I was going, And she said, do you remember how the game was, the last score? And I was like, And so she had to reiterate, it was amazing. But anyway, I want to tell you how proud I am of these women, because they made me look really good, and it really is all them. So without further ado, I would like to thank everyone who, I don't even know who nominated us, but whoever did, thank you. They deserve it. And before I give the Debbie, one of the captains, the microphone, I would like to say, I was sitting here and I was looking around and remembering things and looking at all of the banners, and then I said, something's missing. Did any of you notice a state championship banner for us?
Yeah, where did it go?
Where's our banner? I would just like to put that out there. These ladies deserve that.
I'm Debbie Sorter-Carnon, and I just want to thank you guys very much, because when I walked into this room and saw every one of you, all of those amazing feelings from that championship season came flooding back instantaneously, and I would see one person after another, and I knew their first and their last name, and I thought that was pretty good, because my mind is getting a little flaky every once in a while. But I will tell you that the feeling on this team, we were placed seated last in the bracket, and we were called the Cinderella team as we kind of won game after game. Remember that? And no one thought we could do it. And we all knew we could do it because we had this amazing feeling among all of us. We worked so hard together, and we had that karma. You know, championship team wins not only because they're good, but also because they have a feeling and they work well together. And we were bonded, and I think we still feel that bond tonight. So I just thank you all so much. This is really such a great thing to be back and see all of you guys. I thank the nominating committee, George, and all of my friends. I feel like we come home because we know all these guys. You know, it's really fun to see them. And then, of course, I don't know whether Bob Willie is here, but he used to be a neighbor of mine growing up, to see his daughter here, too. It just comes full circle, and I think that's what a lot of these amazing events are all about. It's not only the fundraising, which is really important, but I think it's also the connection. I think Casey said this in the beginning, the connection that we all have, because we are all Dover-Sherborn Regional High School graduates, alumni, and I think will always be a connection among all of us. So thank you all very much, and thank you guys so much.